now, the next one we're going to be taking a look at here is Agent Aika. And it is a action comedy with some science fiction. And yes, you guessed it, it's another OVA series. And this is one anime that I actually never even heard of before at all. Like, I've never even heard anybody ever talk about it. I just kind of found out about it randomly and figured, why the hell not? We have to throw in some variety within here. So with that said, I don't have a high expectation and I don't have a low expectation. However, let's just begin and talk about the story. So some time ago, there was an earthquake that happened in Tokyo that actually sunk the entire island. And the only thing that still remains somewhat there is Tokyo Tower. So you can already tell that the world is already pretty messed up as it is. So the show's main character is Aika, and she happens to be a salvage agent. So basically she goes underwater where the original Tokyo is and digs up treasure. Oh, and she also has a partner named Ida who happens to wear glasses, and she is the daughter of Aika's boss. But she also has a rival that happens to be Gusto. So Gusto and Aika are always like trying to fight over who gets the treasure first. And of course, they have to make Gusto a horny horn dog who's like obsessed with Aika. And she always rejects him like all the time. So okay, this is kinda sorta like Waterworld, I guess. So eventually, after they fucked up the one case, there's another company out there called Delmo Corps. And that company is being ran by someone named Rudolph, and no, not Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but Rudolph and Agent Aika. And all he wants to do is pollute the earth, and of course he wants to repopulate it in his own way and spreading out his own genes. So to sum it up, he's a sex monkey. Alright, so that's the basic of what you need to know, and I am going to get more into it there, but so far, this kind of sounds like, okay, this is some pretty typical stuff there, I mean, not too bad. So here is where things go from has potential to what the fucking cock shit. Alright, I'm not gonna get too ahead of myself here, but here's the next thing I gotta say. So Aika just happens to have a corset that's made out of ultranate, and for a short period of time it allows her to transform into a dark-skinned girl that happens to have superhuman strength. So as to be expected from that, she uses that just to kick everyone else's asses. Alright, so that's kinda whatever. But the one thing that this show is actually known for is the amount of fucking panty shots that they have. Like, there is so much in this show, I don't think I've ever seen this much since Ikitoshin. Hell, I'd even say that this show puts that one to shame when it comes to that sort of thing. So with that said, yes, this is indeed a really ridiculous one. And of course, there's nothing wrong with making an anime that just balls out crazy and ridiculous. I mean, there's quite a few of them out there that I actually like. Just to name a couple examples would be like Is This a Zombie, Kill la Kill, High School of the Dead, and even the Neptunia anime. But of course that's mostly because of the games, but the anime itself was still alright for what it was. So with that said, I'm totally not against this idea at all. But the one big problem with this show is that it's not funny whatsoever. It's one of those shows that it tries hard to be serious, but it also tries hard to be super ridiculous. Because I guess the people that were making this show figured that, oh, well, we're gonna show as much panty shots as possible because we all think that's funny. When it really isn't, and honestly, when you just overkill the fucking thing, it just makes it even more boring than it actually is. Like, to sum it all up, it's basically panty shot, panty shot, panty shot, explaining a bit about the plot, panty shot, and then, oh look, a fight scene, and like a shit ton of panty shots right there. So if you are trying to be funny, you can at least try not to like overkill the entire thing with the same thing. But before I end talking about the story here, I will say that there is actually a second arc to the story after the whole like incest dude. But I'm not going to get into it there mainly because I think this is enough. Alright, so let's start moving on to the other things like the animation. So the animation in this one is just okay. So the setting is alright. The character designs are also just plain okay, although for a show that is trying to show off as much panty shots as possible, it seems like everyone is wearing the exact same type. So if you are one of those people that really wants to see a whole bunch of variety of panty shots, well, yeah, you're gonna be disappointed at that too. And even for the time that this show was made, it just looks kind of okay, I guess. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't really look good either, so yeah, we'll just leave the animation as it's just plain okay. And now, as for the music in this one, the music is also just plain okay, because honestly, I couldn't remember a damn thing about it. But what I do remember is that the music for the most part does suit the show, but I really can't say anything more than that. Well, except for the fact that the opening theme song is actually kinda decent. Honestly, it's probably the nicest thing I can say about this one. So now, let's start moving on and talk about the voice acting, and oh my banana. This show's voice acting is so mind-destroyingly bad, I am pretty fucking flabbergasted at the fact of how bad it is. I hardly know any of the voice actors here except for two. So the main character, Aika, is voiced by Debbie Rabbi. And it's pretty bad, but it's at least the best one I can say in this show. But that ain't saying much. But one thing you may or may not have known is that she actually plays Ling from Shenmue, which is kind of interesting. And yes, the voice acting in Shenmue is definitely better than the voice acting here by a long shot. And the other one I recognize here is Mappia, who is being played by Rachel Lillis. And sadly, yet again, she kinda sucks in here too. But as for everyone else, it's just so bad. Like, it's not even like so bad that it's funny, it's so bad that it goes past funny and goes right back to garbage. And the reason why I'm saying that the voice acting here is so damn bad is mainly because everyone sounds like a fucking robot. There's no emotion to it whatsoever, and it makes the show even more boring than it already is. But one last voice I will take a look at here is Rudolph, and he is voiced by someone named Scott Cargill. Now, I've never heard about this guy before, but all I have to say is that it's the absolute worst role in this entire show. His voice sounds like something that was taken right out of the game Chaos Wars, which, as you may know, is that game had some of the worst voice acting ever. But at least the voice acting in that game is actually funny, but this one is actually even worse than that, if you could believe it. So when it comes to all the animes I've taken a look at this year in this feature that I talked about the voice acting being pretty bad, this one is easily the worst. Hell, I'd even say that this probably might even be one of the worst voice acting I ever heard in an anime, excluding the hentai since at least those dubs are fucking hilarious. But anyways, I think you get the point. So now, let's talk about the score, and the score for this one, if I were to rate it, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. Well, shit, I was not expecting this show to be this fuckular. So yes, this show was really boring. It was also not funny whatsoever. The idea for the show was okay, but I definitely lost interest within the first episode, I'm not even kidding. The animation is mediocre, the music is kinda mediocre, and of course the voice acting is just fucking horrendous. Honestly, I think I'd rather watch Ikitoshin than this thing. And in case you haven't seen my review on that anime, I didn't like that one much, and this show kinda reminds me of it, but just way fucking worse. And not only that, but at least Ikitoshin at least had a decent idea for the show. Man, never thought I'd be praising that show. So when it comes to Agent Aika, I just can't recommend it to anyone, unless you just happen to be turned on by colors and lines on your screen. But other than that, I really can't think of anyone else that I can recommend this show to. Even if you want to enjoy it on an ironic level by turning off your brain, it's still hard to sit through. And the only reason why I'm giving this a 2 instead of a 1 is that at least this show is really short with 7 episodes, but even then I think 7 episodes is going a bit too far, but at least it didn't try to go even more than that. And at least the animation and the music were at least mediocre but not awful. And lastly, the show is still better than Photokano, but not by much, but it's still fucking turds.